Well, thank you everybody for joining. My name is Johnny Freeman. I'm Posotron's Customer Outreach Manager, and we have our wonderful CEO, Adam Fritz, on the call as well. And today we will be doing a deep dive into Posotron's proofing tool. So there's a lot of features in Posotron. I'm going to go through every single page of Posotron that has to do with the proofing tool and highlight all of the advanced features, specific reports, all of the specialized things you can do in Positron, because just one of these features can save you hours if you know it exists, if you need a particular kind of report or something like that. So we're going to go through all of it today so you know everything that you have at your fingertips when working in Positron. That said, as we go through this, Adam and I are both here live and we like to answer your questions live. So if you do have a question pop into your head, please don't wait. Just put it in the Q&A box and we will answer it on the spot. But we do prefer the Q&A box because that notifies us when there's a question. So please click that little button, open up the Q&A box and put it in there. And with that, we will get started. So like I said, we're going to go through every page of Positron that has to do with proofing, from creating your project to the proofing page or project page features. We're going to go through the proofing interface when you're actually in a chapter proofing your work, all the different kinds of exports and reports and how to customize those, and then also show you some often overlooked profile settings that can be very helpful when you're working in Positron. So with that, we'll get right into it. So the first step when you're trying to use Positron on any of our tools, you have to create a project first. And the advanced features actually begin right away in this create your project screen. So there's a lot of options in here. So I'm going to go through all of them. The main thing, if you're just getting started with Positron, really all you need to do is upload your manuscript. So that's the main use of this page, but there's a lot of custom options as well. And let me actually pull up Positron and walk you through them. Very first thing that I'll actually show you before I even click this create new project button, I will show you our folders functionality. This is somewhat new, and if you use Positron for a while, guaranteed this My Projects page is going to get pretty cluttered with all the different projects you've created. So to clean this up and create a folder, there's a little three-dot menu right here next to the Create New Project button. Go ahead and click that. Click Add New Folder, and you can name your folders whatever you'd like. I have one already created for the Jungle Book project, so once you have a folder, you can just select these projects that you no longer need in your home page, hit this Move button, and drop it into a folder here. So I'll hit Move, and we'll see it nicely cleans up my project page. Pretty soon you'll be able to drag and drop those and make it a little easier. But looks like we have a question already from Dan. Can we make a default folder so it's always the first to open? That's a good question. Currently, the first folder you'll be in is actually the unfiled folder. It always brings you here, so anything not in a folder will be the first thing you see. But that's an interesting idea. That might just be a project setting that we could implement for you. So we'll note that down, Dan. Thanks. And once you got that all taken care of, let's go into the Create New Project screen, and I'll walk you through these options here. So the only required field in here is the title. You can actually create a project with nothing else, just a title, just an empty project. But there's a lot of other options in here. So give it a title. You can enter the customer that this is for if you'd like to organize it further. File it in an already created folder here. You can obviously upload the manuscript, PDF, EPUB, text, or Word document, and text is new. So we're trying to cover all our bases there. Now these settings down here they can get a little advanced. I'll go through them one by one. Project details is to further organize your projects. You can actually set a due date of an internal due date, a project due date. You can actually set the status here, and you can update this as you go through your project. And any notes that you want to keep just about the project in general, you can put those here. Sensitivity options come next. And this is really helpful once you've used Positron for a little while and you know what our algorithm likes to suggest and flag. You can actually have some influence over that. You can tell Positron to be extra sensitive, where maybe you're doing a medical narration and they're really particular about the pronunciations and stuff. You can actually increase the sensitivity here. You can also lower the sensitivity and move it to relaxed if it's not a project that has very specific jargon or technical terms. You just want to focus on added words, missed words, things like that. You can move it to relaxed, or you can leave it on normal. And all of these are extremely accurate. Even relaxed isn't going to miss a line that you insert in the wrong place or something like that, but it will lower the amount of suggestions you'll get. And a question from Barbara: do we get notifications if we put a project deadline in? Currently, you don't get a notification. It will be visible inside the project. So I don't think I have that in there. I can add it into the existing project, but you'll see the deadline in there when you click on project details, but it doesn't put a notification out for you. Another interesting idea. Thank you, Barbara.
One thing to note there, that's definitely something, and Lindsay, if you could take a note there, something that we're going to be building in is a bunch of notifications. So let's say you're working on a project with a bunch of stakeholders in it. You're not just a narrator working by yourself. If you upload your audio and you've assigned a proofer to it, it would automatically tell the proofer when the chapters are processed and things like that. So a notification system is something we have in the plans. We've never thought about the deadline, but that's definitely a good thing to take a note of.
Yeah, it'd be great to get an email saying your project's almost due, hurry up or something like that. So thank you, Barbara. Moving on to the noise detection, this has the same sensitivity options as our proofing algorithm because there's actually two separate algorithms that we run your audio through when you upload it to Pozotron. And the noise detection, you can just fully disable it if you would like, if you want to focus only on proofing, or if it's enabled, again, you can move these to different settings. Each one has a little pop-up, that tells you kind of when it's applicable. But again, they're all extremely accurate, relaxed, and extra sensitive. We'll just have slightly less or slightly more suggestions. Now, this is an exciting one, the manuscript processing options. This is fairly new. And what this is it allows you to tell Positron how to understand your script. Now, usually Positron will just all the text that's in your script, it's going to grab that and process that, and that's kind of all it looks for. It looks for the text. If you have this turned on, PDF annotations handling here, you'll see it has a few more options. And essentially, this will let you make changes to your script, such as crossing out text, and it will tell Positron, don't include this in your processing. So it'll basically ignore any lines that have a strike through it. I'll actually open up a script here just to kind of show you why you would need that. Let's say in this script, a common thing is footnotes. There'll be an asterisk right here, and then at the bottom of the page, there's extra information. Now, those are great in books, but in an audiobook, there's some questions about that. When is the narrator going to read this footnote? Do they need to, if the footnote is right at the end of this sentence, do they need to say the footnote before beginning the next sentence or something like that? So what you can do, or if they're not going to be read at all, actually, if footnotes are going to be ignored, in an Adobe Acrobat or a PDF reader, you can just strike through the text, with this red line. And when you upload this to Positron, Positron will not see these words. So anything in your script that you don't want Positron to recognize, you can just give it this little strike through and it'll ignore it. And a question from Dean, what about for a table that's excluded? Strike through doesn't work for that, right? It actually should work if I'm not mistaken. If there's a table, you can actually just select the entire table. I don't think I have one on this script to test it out. But if you're able to strike through it in a PDF reader, that will tell Positron to ignore it. If for some reason you can't strike through something, you can always redact it. So if you have this highlighted here and you actually redact the text, that'll work as well. It just actually blacks it out. So that'll work as well, but strike through is a little easier, and you can also see what's been struck through in the script. Question from Vass. What about bibliography and indexes, appendixes, etc.? So those you can strike through if you want, but if you're like, let's say if I go back up here, table of contents here, this is not struck through. And Positron will ignore this. So it's actually just going to base off your audio file, whatever audio file you upload. If you start at version 2 here, it's not going to care that you skipped over the table of contents unless your audio file started, before it. So let's say this is not a great example, but if you start your audio file here and then skip over the table of contents and then continue reading here, it will say, hey, you missed a section. So that's a little bit particular, but you can always just strike through it as well. It will work for everything you mentioned there, Vass. Great. Yeah. Thanks for the question. So this is really helpful. There's additional features are listed down here. The crossed out text is right there. You can also add a comment text to your manuscript. So what this means, let me delete this. Let's go back to the footnote example. Let's say there is a footnote right here. I'll actually zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this better. If there's a asterisk right here, there's a footnote at the bottom. And you're supposed to, insert the footnote right here. What you could do is you could actually cross out, you strike through the footnote at the bottom, and then right where I'm supposed to insert that, I'm going to add a comment. And you want to use just this regular comment, not the other comments here. So there's a bunch of kinds of comments, but if I click add comment and I pop it right here, I can type whatever text I want to be included in here. So Adam is awesome. I don't know. Put in any text you want. And when Positron reads this, that's fine. We'll hit post. So when it reads this sentence, once it gets here, it'll actually expect, and let me just it'll actually expect you to say Adam is awesome right there. So you can actually edit what Positron is expecting without editing the script and making a bunch of changes. So it's a really useful thing with footnotes. You strike through the actual footnote there, and then you can insert it where it's supposed to be said in the audio file. And you can add these comments wherever you'd like. You can strike through wherever you'd like. It gives you kind of control over that part of it. Additionally, replace crossed out text with a comment. This is kind of combining those two steps up here. So if I had a strike through right here, I'm just going to strike through this whole sentence here. I'm going to delete this comment. And let's say instead of saying Positron Studio is an AI-powered audio production tool, you're supposed to say something else. You can just strike through all of that, add the comment right after it, and now this text, whatever I put in this comment, will replace this sentence here. So it's a little bit specific. You might not need it on all your projects, but if you do have a script that's formatted in an unconventional way, you can get ahead of that and make sure that your proofing process goes smoothly without having all these strange occurrences happening. All right, let's move back up here. Oh, and the last one is ignore free text annotations. So this is if you need to leave a note for yourself. If you just typed that note in regularly, Positron would read it and expect you to say it. So if you have some, directorial notes or something, you can add a text comment, something like this, and just write, don't read. Wow, the text is really big. Any footnotes? I don't know. That's a note. Obviously, you'd want to format that a little better. But Positron will not see this, so you can leave notes for yourself throughout the manuscript without messing up the proofing part. So a little bit specific, but a very powerful tool if you need it. That option's always there. And you can also include numbered lists from Word files. So if they have things listed 1, 2, 3, 4, you can include those lists without that formatting getting deleted. Okay, moving on to the last thing. This is the proofing annotation filter. Now, what this is if you don't want to see a particular kind of annotation in Positron. So don't turn these on if you want Positron to flag misreads and inserted words. You'd actually want to leave this blank because whatever you turn on, Positron will ignore. It won't show you, like if you're not interested in pauses, I could turn that on. And when I upload audio, it's not going to flag. Well, it will flag it, but it'll be automatically filtered out. So it won't show you all the pauses. It won't show you the noises if you turn that on. What's really nice is you can actually turn on contractions. So we've had that request a lot where if you say don't instead of do not, If that's okay in your project, you can turn this on, and any contraction deviations, Positron won't flag there. So very handy tool. Again, just gives you the option to customize what you see in Positron. And after you've used us for a while, you'll see what you like and what you don't want in your future projects. So that's there. Barbara, I made the mistake of turning those on. I obviously had the intention backward. Yep, exactly. And that's a reasonable mistake to make. So that's why we're doing this webinar to show those things. It looks like we have someone raising their hand. Carrie, if you have a question, you could put it in the Q&A box, or if you'd like, we can bring you up onto the stage if you'd like to talk it through. Oh, it's just a mistake. No worries. All good. Okay, let's move on from creating a project. So those are all of the options. Use them as you need them. Now we will go into the proofing tab. So there's a lot of things here, and I mostly put these here so I don't forget anything. So sorry about the wall of text. But let's start with the PDF repair tool. This is a very exciting tool. It's very new. I think it might be 2 weeks old. I don't know. But a common thing that happens with PDFs is they get corrupted. They have issues inside them that make software like Pozotron, or if you try to convert it to Microsoft Word and it comes through as like a wall of gibberish text. That's just because PDFs are a format that inherently have those issues. So if you open up your project, you upload your audio files here, and when you hit open proofing, or actually even before that, you see Positron suggested 2,000 mistakes. And that usually means that there's something wrong with the script. So you can double check that by opening up a chapter and seeing if it read it correctly. But now, instead of having to watch a YouTube tutorial on how to fix your PDF, you can actually just click this button right here. And there's a brand new PDF issue detection and fix options. So this is our PDF repair tool. And there's a few options in here that handle the common issues with PDFs. The most common thing, or the most likely thing you'll need to do with your project, is to rerun the OCR, optical character recognition. So this is on by default, as well as reprocess audio in project. Because when you upload a corrupted script and you upload your audio, it's all messed up. We actually need to reprocess it. And in the past, you'd have to create a new project and re-upload all the audio and talk with us to make sure you're not double charged and all of that. Now you can just click fix my PDF. It'll reprocess your whole script, all of your audio. It won't double charge you or anything like that. So it's really simple. And now it's in your hands that you can do this on your projects. Also, there's the double page spread. Actually, it looks like we have a quick question on PDFs from Bess. How could a script be corrupted? Never happened to me, but I'd like to recognize it if it does. So it's a good question. Essentially, in a PDF, there's the picture of the page, which has all the letters on it, but there's actually data inside the PDF that tells other software what the words say. So a human can just open up the PDF and read it. Doesn't matter if it's corrupted. But if another software is trying to read it, it won't be able to, because that metadata in there is messed up. There's a lot of reasons of that. I don't want to get too far into the weeds in that area, but
I can
yeah.
give the main reason. When PDF, the file format was created, the creators were essentially trying to create a digital letter. And
Mhm.
instead of using a character encoding, creating a new system of character encoding, they actually reused one that was created for inkjet printers originally. So essentially, the PDF format started with a huge mistake, and it's become ubiquitous despite all of its flaws. It's especially common for Issues are especially common for books that are scripts that are scanned from an actual print book, or books that are scripts that are produced using like a essentially something like Adobe InDesign. So if it's not, typed on a word processor, it's more likely to have mistakes. And then really the most common mistake is called a ligature, where there's a font with like an F and an I, where those two letters are actually touching. So an OCR tool can't actually prop exactly like that. So there isn't white space all the way around those two characters. So what an OCR tool attempts to do is look at those two, look at F and I, and say which character in the Roman alphabet does that relate to? There is no character that is F and I combined, and so that's why it turns into like a number sign or an error.
Yep, it would probably see this FL as an a capital A, or something like that. So that's a very common one. It's not even really corrupted. It's just the font doesn't work with software very well. But you'll be able to recognize it fast. If you upload a script with those issues, you'll see right away that something is wrong with your script, and now you can fix it using this button here. And Margaret, to answer your question, so you do that fix after you've created the project and uploaded the first bit, but before you start proofing? Yep, that's totally fine. You can do it once you've uploaded everything as well, but it's easier to catch it in the beginning. Yeah, upload one file, and if you see there's issues with it, click this button, make sure this is turned on and this is turned on, and hit fix my PDF.
And this will actually completely erase any proofing progress you've made. However, there is a way that you can do a workaround there, and that is to export your markers before you do that, your DAW markers into any format. I'm actually just, as we speak, came up with this idea. We're going to improve the warning message down there. So if you do ever do this, export your markers, and then you can import those back into Pozotron. So Lindsay, if you could actually put the how to import markers tutorial into the chat, that's how you do it.
Perfect. And to wrap up what these options do, double page spread is if you have two PDF pages, like it's a picture of the page, of two pages in one page. It's always hard to communicate that without an example, so I should have had one. But if you have, or even if you have like columns, so text on two sides of one page, that doesn't work well in Positron, and this option will automatically put your text in the correct order so that everything's read consecutively nicely. You can remove all images as well. This is not always necessary, but if you remove the images, sometimes it increases the processing speed. And if there's text within your images that Positron may read, you can remove all of those. Super quick option there. Great. So that's a brand new tool. We're really excited about that. And to move on, so now I'm going to go through, this is our proofing page where you upload your audio to proof. But there's a ton of buttons in here, and I'm going to go through those as quickly as I can so we stay on track. Starting with the Show Project Settings button here. So there's some details and settings up here that you can always click to see what's going on with your project. You can see the general settings, what sensitivity was used on, if you turned on the PDF handling, annotations handling there. So you'll see all these different options here. The details will show you the estimates bar. So also the project status and due date, if you do put those in, they will be visible right here, which I should have entered here. But you'll see the due date along with the total number of words and all of that. But the show details button shows you this estimates button. And this is really helpful when you just upload a script and you're trying to plan out how long this project is going to take you. Positron will give you the estimated total runtime based off of the words in your script, how long it would take, the average industry standard narrator to narrate everything. So we'll see with my script, it expects it to be a 44-minute project. It's really helpful. And as you go through and update the proofing, as you do that, these bars will update and it'll show you your progress on proofing and editing as well. So really helpful just to get an idea of what's going on in your project for planning it out. The annotation filter is the same thing that I showed you in the create new project field. So you can also do this at any time. You don't have to do it when you're creating your project. You can filter out all of the pauses, noises, again, the contractions, and you can mark them either as, anything as okay, as filtered out. So this will control, but let me actually do that. I'm going to do pauses here, and I'm going to mark these as filtered out. And am I doing something wrong here? Why isn't that showing up?
You
Oh,
now need,
there we
we've
go.
changed
Yep.
it, so you now need to, yeah, there you go.
So this is new. You can actually decide on things that are marked as a pickup or marked as open. So I'm going to hit filter here. It'll tell me how many annotations will be filtered out. I'll click OK. And we can see the numbers have changed here. So all of the pauses that were there are now marked as OK or filtered out. Dan, how do you calculate proofing time? Some of the work is manual in some cases. Good question. So this is all an estimate based off of the industry standards for how long the industry says it takes to do these things. So 1.5 hours of work to proof one finished hour. That's the math we're using in that area.
And eventually it will be based on your actual usage and your actual usage data, but we're a ways away from that.
Hmm. Yeah, that'll be exciting. Okay, so to make sure I don't forget, that's why I have them all listed here. So filters, we've gone over that. The chapter settings. So let's pull this up. So every chapter you upload to Pozotron has a three-dot menu on it. And in here, there are options. A lot of them are the same as the project settings, but just for a specific chapter. So in here, if I wanted to, one, download the audio, I can do that here. I can also archive the chapter. So this is how you remove it from this list here. You can click the three-dot menu, hit archive. If I want any chapter specific reports, so I can get those here. This will allow me to export the proofing report or the typo report or the pickup packet only for this chapter instead of the whole project. We can also mark everything in this chapter as a pickup. We can mark everything as fixed. If this is a re-upload, you can actually transfer the annotations you okayed in the first version to this version, so you don't need to re-go through everything. And you can undo that if you did it by accident here. So lots of settings in here. You can also rename your chapter with this pencil icon if you ever need to fix the naming conventions. The manual chapters, this is a really helpful tool. So usually to get chapter proofed in Positron, you would just drag and drop the audio right here, and Positron will match it to the script and do its thing. There's also a button here to manually create a chapter. So this is helpful if you need to proof something that isn't in the script, or it's in the script in a different format and you don't want to, change the way your script is formatted. This lets you be really granular with it. You can just give it a title and paste what you narrated in here. So like the acknowledgement section or anything like that, you can drop the text in here, upload the corresponding audio file, and Positron will use this instead of the script that you uploaded to the project to proof this chapter. So really helpful, especially in like duets. I had someone use this feature. They just copied all of their lines, pasted them in here, and then uploaded their audio file, and they could proof their entire chapter, even though the script had the other narrator's lines in them as well. And excuse me, I have a tickle, so I'm going to take a sip of water.
The manually create chapter feature is a really, really good way. So let's say, for example, you have a script that all of a sudden halfway through narrating, your author has made some changes or added a new chapter or something like that. It's a really good way that you can add on to that. A couple questions. Going back to the annotation filter, in the future, will we be able to filter out pauses shorter than X amount of seconds instead of all pauses? Good question. That's something that we can build in. So Lindsay, if you can add that to our notes, that would be awesome. So good question, anonymous attendee. That's something that we should definitely consider. If we don't make it to the end of the session, we'll have access to the recording. Yes, all of our webinars are posted to YouTube. And if you did register, we will send you a link to the video as well.
And another question from Dan. Can you show the manual drag chapters to reorder? That's a great question. Totally forgot about that. So depending on how you upload your audio, there's a few ways to sort this list of audio files here. The top right here, there is a sort by. I have it set to custom, but you can also set this to alphabetically A to Z or Z to A. And this will work on numbers as well. So even though this starts with 0, 1, if I do Z to A, it will put that at the bottom. If you have it in this setting, if it's alphabetically set, you won't be able to move these chapters around. You'll see it just doesn't let me. If I have it set to custom, I can actually drag this and move it around. It'll reorder these chapters here. And that can be really helpful. If you uploaded them in an order that didn't make sense, that can be annoying when you're looking at this. So really easy to just drag and move these chapters however you'd like them. So thanks, Dan. Moving right along, the activity log I'll show you next. So another often overlooked feature is the activity log. I'm going to move our faces over here. This little button right here will actually show you everything that has been done in this project concerning the audio files. So any reports that are exported, so you can see I uploaded all the audio on September 16th. It tells you who uploaded it. So if you have multiple people working on the project, you can see who's doing what. Exporting DAW markers, exporting the pickup packet. So all of these, oh, and also any filters used. So I filtered out all the pauses and 5 for noises. So it can show me what's been filtered out. So if there's something going on in your project, you're like, hey, why are all the pauses gone? It's really easy to then take a look at the actions report. And you can also, under project settings, oh, that's interesting. I clicked on my, oh, here it is. Okay, good. So project settings here, you can reset filters, you can reset certain things if, and kind of do your detective work, see what needs to be fixed and go through there. But that's a really helpful button there. All right, let's see what else we got to go through. So project settings and project details. So I believe I already showed you the project details. That's under here where you can take a look at the project. Project settings at the bottom allows you to do important things to your project, such as delete it. So if you do want to delete your project at any point, if you don't want your data up here, you can delete it once you're done with the project. It will have you confirm by typing yes. We very much don't like things to be deleted by accident. So make you double confirm there. You can move your project. You can archive the project, which essentially removes it from your projects page, but keeps all of the information there. I can do things like marking all the pickups fixed. If you finish your project and you don't want to click each one of these to fix your pickups, you can just click those. You can reset scan occurrences, which is a particular tool, and you can also reset the entire project, and that will bring it all the way back to when you first started. You won't have to re-upload your audio, but it'll reset everything else in the project. All right. So the main use of this page, to recap, is to upload your audio, but as you can see, there's a whole lot of other features in here that you can add to your workflow. And I don't believe I missed anything, but if you have any questions on that, let me know. And we'll move on to the very next exciting part of the program, the proofing interface. So this is, and I'm actually going to reset these annotations here just so it's back to, and look at that. So all my annotations are back with none of those filters applied. So Barbara, you had mentioned you accidentally filtered out everything using the annotation filter. You could actually reset it just using this project settings button here. So that'll bring it all back to normal there. All right. So moving on to the proofing interface, when you click open proofing, you're brought to this page here. And this is what we call the proofing interface. Again, the main point of this screen is to synchronize your audio that you uploaded with the text in the script. And you'll be able to listen back, click anywhere you want in the script to listen to it, make that very convenient. But there are a lot of extra features in here that are often overlooked. So very first thing I'll talk about is this top bar here. So here you obviously have the play button and the audio track, so you can skip around to different audio sections just like this. It'll show the timestamp here. You can copy that or put in a timestamp that you want to go to. You can change the playback speed of the audio, which some people like to do. For me, it gives me a headache if I play this on 2x speed.
Pozotron Studio is an AI-powered audio production tool.
Yeah, I don't like that very much. And you'll see this also shows you, I like the little icon there. It'll show you where the gauge is at right now. So move that back to 1 and it goes back to the middle. You can copy the timestamp. Some people like to edit as they go. So if you find a mistake, you get right to that point. You can copy the timestamp. This will just put it in your clipboard, and then you can paste it into your DAW directly, go right to that point, and start making changes. A new feature is being able to set a bookmark. So let's say I've gotten down to this section of the audio file and I have to go, I can't finish it. What I can do now is set a little bookmark. You'll see it sets one right there. And if I return to my project page, See, there's a resume button now, so it makes it really easy to pick up where you left off. If this is like a 2-hour audio file as well, if I hit resume, it'll bring you right to that point, so you don't need to scroll and find where you left it off. So nice little quality of life thing there. And then when you're done with it, just click it and it'll go away. So you can set a
And
new
you
one
can
later on.
also create those bookmarks from each annotation card on the left as well.
Yep, all of these options, well, not all of them, but some of the options like copy the timestamp and set the bookmark are available on every annotation as well. So if I click this one here, it sets a little bookmark for me, and I can also copy the timestamp if I want to go right to my DAW. So little feature, but very, very useful and can improve your quality of life when you're working in Pozotron. Last thing I'll show you here is this little settings icon. These are the interface options, all of these. You can disable auto scrolling. So this is, if you have that disabled and I have the audio playing up here,
Pozotron Studio
I
is
can
an
scroll down
AI-powered audio production tool.
and it won't, automatically anchor to where it's playing. So if you like to jump around, you can do that. Or if you enable auto scrolling, it will not let you scroll away.
It's an AI-powered audio production tool
See, it
designed to
brings me right back up to that point there. So you have control over that. You can also disable these buttons. If you tend to click them by accident, you can disable the back to project button and next chapter button as well. So that'll remove those buttons. I personally like them on, so I'm going to turn them back on. Good. So those are the interface options. And it looks like we have a question from Barbara. Did you say we can do editing in the DAW real time while proofing? Not exactly. I mean, you can. So some of our customers that use Positron, let's say they get to this mistake, and instead of just marking it as a pickup, which is the usual workflow, you can copy the timestamp of this mistake. And if I have it open in Audacity, or whatever, I can then just open that up and paste the timestamp and just go right to this section in the audio and fix it right away. So it just depends on your workflow. If you want to just, as you get to them, just pop it into your DAW and correct them, you can. Or you can just mark them as pickups and get the DAW marker file at the end. So it's really a preference thing. Okay, let's see. You're very welcome, Barbara. Thanks for the question. All right, so now next thing is tags. So tags are really helpful. So all of our annotations in Positron automatically have a type, essentially, like the category of the mistake. So if I click pick up on this, you'll see there's two hashtags here, inserted, because this word was inserted, and a misread, because technically it was read incorrectly. So these tags are useful in a number of ways, but primarily used for customizing your reports at the end. So if you want, especially if you're working, the best example I can think of is if you have two narrators working on a project and you want to split up the pickups. So the narrator one gets all of their pickups and narrator two gets all of their pickups. To do that, you can use tags. And on any of these annotations, there's the default ones, which will be added automatically. There's also this little button right here. And if I open that up, opens a little window here where I can add any tag I want to this annotation. You'll see there's tags for a whole bunch of things. There's missing phrase, low level, in review, fixable. There's tons of different tags here. And you can also search for these. So let's say this is something that I want the author to see. I can actually tag author, that author right here. And this would let me, at the end of the project, grab all of the pickups that have the author tag and send just those ones to them. Or a narrator one, if I can spell narrator one all the way through 9. So if it's a big collaborative project, you can do that. Or if you're working with an editor, you can tag this at editing and give them a list of things that they're going to fix. So tons of different options here.
And I just sent a list of our link to support page that has all of our pickup tags that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do have a suggestion or one you'd like to add, there's a couple small limitations, but we can generally add those. So you can email us and we'll do our best to add it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let us know if there's any particular tag you need. Now, tagging things is fantastic. I can tag this whatever I want. Let's tag it at editing. But you'll see it takes a couple of extra clicks. And if you're doing that 100 times in a project, that could be a little time consuming. So today I wanted to show you how to use our hotkeys to do this really easily. So one more button up in our interface options up here is this right here. This will pop up all of our tags. Well, all of our hotkeys. And some of our hotkeys have tags on it. So if you press P, it'll mark something as a pronunciation, mark it with that tag. If you press the numbers 1 through 9 on a particular pickup, it'll mark it narrator 1 or narrator 2, depending on what number you picked. M for misread, so there's a lot of different tags in here. We tried to put the most commonly used ones on here. E is for editing. And the way you use these is if you have one of these annotations selected, I'm going to press 2, and you'll see it marks it as a pickup automatically, and it also added at narrator 2 to that pickup. So this can save you a lot of time instead of clicking here and then typing narrator and then scrolling and finding the right one. You could just press the number 2, marks it as a pickup. So really, really helpful. And I'll also show you at the end some profile settings you can turn on to even further customize the tags that you need. Okay, let's see. Keyboard shortcuts. So, yep, get familiar with those. They can save you a ton of time, especially using our speed mode. So I'll show you quickly what that is. But you can navigate through all of these pickups by simply clicking on them on the left-hand side. So this will bring you right to that point where the pickup is being said. And when it's selected, you can use the hotkeys A and D to mark something as OK or pickup. So if I press D on this pickup, it just marks it as a pickup and instantly selects the next one in the list. So it makes it really easy to just do a spot check. If I wanted to only listen to these, I could click the first one, hit play.
Including words accidentally added into
So I can say that's a pickup, press D, it moves on to the next one, press space.
from the script. Of course,
that's another pickup. And you can move through your whole chapter that way, significantly reducing the time that it takes to proof it. So yeah, I'd get familiar with using these hotkeys because they can make your workflow a lot faster and easier. And I am speeding up a little bit because I see we're pretty close to the end of the hour, and I've only gotten through like 4 slides. So I'm going to speed it up. Script sync. Script sync is an awesome feature. I'm actually going to go into another chapter here. This is useful if you've used our pronunciation and character guide. So if we look at my character guide, we'll see I have Sherlock on here. If we open my pronunciation guide, I have all of these words that I've researched. And if you're curious about these tools, if you haven't used them before, let us know. We've got a bunch of tutorials and webinars concerning those tools. But when you've got information in there, you can actually see that information in this page. So script sync is up at the top left. And if I turn on pronunciations and characters, you'll see Sherlock is now highlighted blue. And any word on my pronunciation guide is highlighted in yellow. What this allows me to do is reference this character while I'm proofing. So as I get to a line of dialogue by Sherlock, I press play on this.
Well, Watson, what do you make of it?
So I can listen to a line that he said, and then I can click Sherlock and see all of the details. So Sherlock is supposed to have a deep baritone with a London accent. You know, these are the details. And I can listen to the audio recording as well. Hello, Watson, blah, blah, blah. And that's still me. So it's not a great example, but I can listen to that dialogue bit by Sherlock and then compare that to the script and make sure the character voice was performed correctly. Vass, will you get into pronunciation at all? Pretty please. Just heard you say. Probably findable on YouTube, are they? Absolutely. We've done webinars focusing fully on the pronunciation guide and character guide. So I would recommend checking those out, or just book a call with us, and happy to hop on another call with you and walk you through those tools myself. So,
And I will put a link to our latest pronunciation and prep.
well, thanks, Vaz. I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for the questions. Now, a couple other things just on this screen I wanted to show you is when you click and highlight a piece of text, you will see there's some options that show up. We've got the create pickup options. You can create custom pickups for tone and pacing and things you want to correct that Pozotron doesn't flag. You can mark those here. can also create an audio snippet. So if I wanted to take this line of dialogue by Sherlock, I can click this little microphone button, go to my character guide, and I'm just going to add that clip as a voice sample to Sherlock. So it's a really easy way to just grab things from your project and save voice samples. So now if I look at Sherlock, he's got 2 voice samples.
Well, Watson, what do you make of it?
And that clip is perfectly stored in there. So really helpful. You can also just download that clip as an MP3 as well. So just split this little section, whatever you have highlighted, it'll download it automatically. Let me actually do that really quick. And there we go. So I have a snippet downloaded straight to my computer. So handy little tool there. And I got to speed up. So custom annotations, we did that. Show hide filter. So over on the left-hand side here, you have these similar options to filter this list. So if I don't want to see any pauses, again, I can just say hide pauses. And this will remove any pauses from this list here. Most commonly, people use this when they're fixing their pickups, because you can say show, let's see, pickup, Pozotron created. So this will only show me things that are marked as a pickup already. So if I have already gone through this project and I'm just confirming that everything's been fixed, I can see only what I've marked as a pickup or only what I haven't. So you have a lot of options here to filter this list. And Melanie, will all the links in chat be available in the YouTube post descriptions as well? That's a great idea. I don't think we usually do that, but I will, when I post this to YouTube, make sure all the links that we mentioned are in the description of the YouTube video. That's a great idea. Thank you, Melanie. But yeah, fantastic idea. I should have been doing that this whole time. Great. Okay, so I will move on now because we only have a few minutes left. Exporting options. So what I wanted to say here mostly is using tags. So I'm going to mark these as pickup. I'm going to mark this as narrator 1. And I really can't spell that word. Mark that as narrator 1, hit save. And so I've got a few pickups in here, and this one is the only one with the narrator 1 tag. I'm going to give you a quick example. Under our import export button, there is a ton of different reports, and we are soon going to be organizing these a little more because we've slowly been adding to the list, and there's a lot on there now. But when you're exporting a pickup packet or the DAW markers, all of them have this option to customize your report. And this is where the tags come into play. I could say only export pickups with the tag narrator 1 on them. When I hit export, this will have only one pickup on the list, where usually it shows every single pickup you've marked. You'll only see this one pickup there because it's got that tag. You can also export straight away without customizing it. And we'll see there's actually different tabs set up here for narrator 1, narrator 2, whatever tags I put on here. I can just click them and see only those pickups there. So it automatically organizes your pickups in a really powerful way. Now let's see, maybe we should have scheduled an hour and a half for the masterclass because there's we've added stuff over the years and now there's a lot to go through. So
we can easily go a little long, and if anyone has to leave, they can.
Very true. Yeah. Okay, good. So then I'll continue here. So using the tags for your pickups, very important. The main kinds of reports are the DAW marker exports. These allow you to get a DAW marker file that has the timestamps of every single mistake every single annotation marked as pickup. You can import those into your session to see exactly where they are. So it makes it really easy to find and replace these mistakes. The proofing report is the same information that you'll see in the pickup packet. However, it's in an Excel sheet. So if this is what you prefer, this has a few other options in here on how you want to customize the view. But by default, it'll download an Excel sheet here, and it has all of the tag separations as well, but they'll be in different sheets. So we've got the mistakes here, chapters, all of that. And then if I go to narrator 1, we'll see only that narrator's pickups. It also includes the typo report, which I didn't mark anything as a typo, but if I had, those would all list up here. And Dan, to answer your question, this is where you get it. You can send this over to the rights holder and they'll see all the typos in their book. So up to you if you want to give that to them or not, but a really powerful resource as well. No worries, Vass. Yeah, if you want to schedule a one-on-one, I'll reach out to you after this. We'll get it scheduled. So no worries. Have a good day. One new one is the missing chapter report. So there's a couple new reports down here at the very bottom. It's actually missed chapters and the missed text report. So missing chapters, if I click that, you will see your audio files need to be named to include the chapter number. For example, chapter 3. So if they all start with chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., this report will show you if any are missing. So if there's one not in there, you can do this final check to see if you've made sure you've uploaded all your audio. You can also do a missed text report, and this will show you what text was not read from your manuscript. So it actually shows you all the text that was not read. As you can get a quick look at, did I miss something? This should have the table of contents and all of that stuff that isn't going to be read, but that's a new report as well. Let's see, I'm rapid firing. Any particular things I should mention before we move on from reports, Adam, that you can think of?
No,
Cool.
no, you're done.
Alrighty. Yeah, so go ahead and play around with those. There are a ton in here if you have particular questions on one of them. We don't have time to cover them all today, but if there's one that interests you, just let us know. All right, so a couple more things to go over. Probably wrap it up in the next 5 to 8 minutes. I think I can get through the rest of it. But the scan occurrences tool is a project saver. So if you have the experience where a particularly tricky word or character name was mispronounced in the book and you've uploaded 10 hours of audio, finding and replacing that word can be really time consuming. So we have the scan occurrences tool here, and this will allow you to search for the audio of a particular word throughout your entire project. So you'll see I have some words on here already. Sherlock, for example. If I want to add a new word, just come up here and type a word out. I'm going to do Pozotron. We'll see it instantly scans. It finds every mention of Pozotron. Then I can click scan here and listen back
Version
to each mention of this word. So every single time Positron said, I can listen back to a little clip of that word. Barbara, that's a great reaction. Yeah, it can really save time. If you need it, you can also just double check a word throughout the whole book. If you want to make sure you pronounced it consistently, do that here. Let's say this one was a mistake. All I need to do is check this little box here, and I can instantly export the DAW marker for that mistake, or I can press annotate to mark it as a pickup. So you can also select all. Let's say I mispronounced positron throughout the whole book. I can select them all, get the DAW markers, or mark them as a pickup right here. So if you need it, it can really save you time. We've had narrators say, they had a long 20-hour book, they mispronounced a word throughout the whole book, and what a headache that would be without a tool like this. So yeah, scan occurrences. So the last setting here is I want to go over the profile settings because this is often overlooked and has some great ways to customize your experience. So if you click your email at the top right and go to your profile, a bunch of different tabs in here where you can access your billing and all of that. But I'm going to show you the proofing and prep column here. So this allows you to do a lot of stuff. I'll start from the top. So the pronunciation dictionary, this is for the prep tools, but you can actually choose a default dictionary that you always want Positron to check first. So you don't need to change that on every project. You can change your default DAW marker format. So all of our options are here. Instead of choosing yours every time, we try to remember what you selected last time, but you can just choose Audition. And now that'll be the default option when you're exporting your DAW markers. Excuse me. Online pickup packet, you can disable or enable this if you don't want those accessible in your account. You could change the misread format from this little arrow to should be. So instead of a misread, it'll say what was heard, what it should have been. You can have it be an arrow or this SB here. The speed mode context offset. This is an interesting one, and by its title, it might be hard to understand what it does, but essentially, this lets you choose. If I choose, it's defaultly to 2 seconds. If I choose 1 second, I'm going to go back to my proofing tool. So if I select one of these annotations like I did previously, it'll bring me exactly 1 second before this mistake. Now, usually it's 2 seconds, but you can change that. So if you want to be a little closer or if you want more context before the particular annotation, you can increase or decrease that right here. It's a very nice option there. The one-click pickup tag also is really helpful. So let me add, let's say I'm working on a project with an editor and I want to tag things with @editing. Instead of using the hotkey, I can select it here, hit update, come back to my proofing tool. You'll actually see there's a new button on the annotations. So really nice now to add @editing. All I have to do is click that and it'll add the tag automatically. So that can be a big time saver as well if you use our tags consistently. Okay, and then a couple more options here. Ignored research words. So these words Positron will never suggest to you on the pronunciation guide or character guide suggestions. So if there's something you notice Positron suggests to you, you can just add it to the list here. And anything you do that from the prep tools, it'll be automatically added here. But really nice to just, yeah, have control over that suggestions list. Some more auto tag features. You can automatically tag noises and pauses with @editing. So whenever there's a pause, if you mark it as a pickup, it'll have that tag on it automatically. And then the last one is a prompt to confirm the final recordable script. That's turned on when you try to upload audio. It'll actually stop you and say, hey, are you sure this is the final script? And the reason for that is once you upload audio to a project, you can no longer change the script. So we want to make sure you're working with the final version before you get locked into it. And thank you everybody for hanging on. We're 3 minutes over. Everybody's still there, so we'll wrap it up shortly. I just want to say thank you so much for attending. I really hope you learned some useful tricks that you can take back to your workflow and how you use Positron. And we got some great suggestions today. So if you have any more suggestions, don't hesitate to let us know by getting in touch. You can book a meeting with us at any time. We're always available. You can do that straight from my projects here. Man, I have a tickle and it won't go away. So sorry about that. But under help, there's book a demo. This doesn't have to be a demo, but that's a really easy way to just book a meeting with us, Adam or myself, or Daria from our team. You can also access all of our tutorials, our help center, all of our previous webinars, and you can also request support and actually open a ticket if you're having a particular problem, all from this help button here. So yeah, please get in touch if we can help.
Agreed. And one thing I do want to finish on, we work really hard to get feedback from our users and from non-users. We just completed or almost completed a big survey with Pana where we've got a ton of really, really helpful, both positive and negative feedback. If you see a friend complaining or having questions about Positron or see something in a Facebook group, please encourage them to reach out to us. I can't promise we're going to be able to fix everything that everyone has an issue with, but I would much rather hear someone say, Positron, you suck, than just have that said on a Facebook group without an opportunity, because in many cases for us to respond, because in many cases it's actually a misconception. So please encourage people, positive, negative, indifferent, whatever, to reach out, because we'll always get on the phone or read an email. And we'd really, honestly, that's the only way for us to improve our tool is to get feedback from users. So please encourage everyone in your orbits to reach out to us positively or negatively.
Yep, a lot of times that feedback helps us create all of the features that we just went over today. So yeah, big, always available. And again, get in touch with us at any point. We're always happy to hop on a call. And that's it. We got through all the slides. We did it. So thanks again for joining. The webinar will be on our YouTube page, and you also get an email with with the recording. But thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.
I was muted. Thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for using Positron.
Bye.